Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale DC figure unboxing and review. Today we are taking a look at Princess Diana of Themyscira, aka Wonder Woman from Wonder Woman 84. I know, not everyone's favourite movie. But the question is this the best, the most definitive Wonder Woman figure ever by Hot Toys? That's the question I intend to answer throughout the course of this video. Now, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They do have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon and join button so you're notified as soon as a brand new review goes live on the channel. It is a lot of pressure, but this is potentially Hot Toys' last Gal Gadot Wonder Woman figure, so if they didn't nail it this time, then they may not get another chance. As for the box art, very striking. We've got the red, blue, and gold, an image of Gal Gadot in the background, special edition off to the side. In the center, the Wonder Woman logo, it's printed on this translucent piece of plastic. It's kind of free-floating. Down below, Wonder Woman 84. On the side of the box, the rest of the Wonder Woman logo spilling over the edge. And as you can see, it's done in metallic gold. It's very reflective. I like the pattern with the various little Wonder Woman logos integrated, and the same pattern is done in red for the rest of the packaging. Plus, if you look super closely, you can see that the majority of the pattern is actually the symbol on her tiara. We also have this retro classic Wonder Woman logo, which I absolutely love. The font is awesome and it's glowing. It kinda looks like the lasso of truth that's been turned into this logo. And I'm pretty sure that was the intention. On the back of the box, Wonder Woman 84, a bunch more of that subtle pattern in the background, and of course, all the warnings and legal info. Lifting off the top, we do have a slipcover with even more artwork, and Wonder Woman's more modern slogan, Truth, Love, and Justice, Wonder Woman. I like the vibrant colors they've used for the text on the gold background, plus in the background, that slogan a bunch more times. Both the right way up and upside down. Overall, it's a very striking and very classy piece of artwork. Ooh, now we're getting to the good part. I have so many questions. How does the silicone body feel in hand? Is there skin texture? Is the sculpted hair horrible? Well, I plan to answer all those questions and more. First in-hand impressions though, this body is so freaking heavy, way heavier than I was expecting. So I can already tell you, 100% there is a metal endoskeleton underneath the silicone skin. What we are going to do now though is get all of her accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything she comes with. Starting off with the display base first, it is hexagonal, relatively low profile and super glossy up the top. But the artwork, you can tell Hot Toys had a ton of fun with the graphic design. It is stunning. We've got an image of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman in grayscale, then a bunch of Wonder Woman logos, another one in the middle in metallic gold. Around the front, Wonder Woman once again, metallic red on one side and blue on the other. This might just be the prettiest nameplate I've ever seen. We do have a waist clamp up above, and I have thoughts about this. We'll discuss this in the pros and cons segment. To tell you the truth, lasso of truth, anyone? No, I'll move on. I was expecting more accessories, not the sword and shield because she didn't use them in this movie, but at the very least an extended and pre-posed lasso. Kind of like she's about to wrap it around someone. Whereas this one is wrapped around, but only around itself. You can uncoil it if you so choose, but it's not a wire. At least I don't think it is, so it's not posable. It's very metallic and shiny, and the ends are sculpted, but it's also hard to work with. More on that later as well. We do get this teeny tiny rubbery plastic one. The finish is different, but if you're wondering what it's for, it's kind of meant to loop around the hand as she's holding the lasso, like she's spooled up a bunch of it as she's grabbed it. It's actually a pretty neat effect when you have her holding the lasso in that spooled up piece. It genuinely looks like what it's supposed to. Now we do get this swirly translucent plastic tornado like she's whipping the lasso around. Pretty cool, but I don't think I'm going to use this in my collection. It's more translucent around the edges, a little bit more vibrant yellow in the middle. Around the back, we do have a wire for the lasso. That's what I was talking about. I literally wanted this kind of thing, just without the tornado. So if I wanted to pose her up, lassoing someone, I totally could have. This does feel like a really sturdy wire though, so when it comes to posing, it should get the job done. I really liked these with the Justice League version. I like them here too. They're bullet ricochets. They do have some magnets on the back, and there are magnets in her gauntlet, so she can be deflecting bullets just like in the film. They're relatively spiky, cast in translucent yellow plastic. We do get 3 different sizes: Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear. Small, medium, and large. And lastly, a full array of hands, ranging from open palm hands to closed fists to gripping hands, and some gesturing ones as well. I like the sculpt work for the wrinkling on the wraps and the subtle texture, plus the dry brushing. And the skin texture for the fingers and the sculpted nails is well done. But if you're thinking, oh no, she doesn't come with a hand to hold the sword and shield because she doesn't have a sword and shield. Well, luckily, if you do have a cheeky god killer, the gripping hand totally works. She can absolutely hold it. And it's a nice secure grip. That god killer isn't going anywhere. What we are going to do now, though, is get Wonder Woman herself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. So far, so good. You may be sitting there thinking, Justin, what's so good? We have so many Wonder Woman figures to choose from. We've got BVS, we've got Justice League, we've got the comic concept version. Isn't this just another one of them? Well, kinda, but also no, not really. There is a bunch new here. This time they've gone with silicone for the body, which I think was absolutely the right call. Now, it's a little bit softer in terms of detail, but there is skin texture. And her arms can almost go completely flat down by her sides, which is very impressive. Plus, the proportions are so real. Then her armor is an all-new sculpt, and it is practically gleaming. Then, for the first time ever for a long-haired Wonder Woman, not talking about the training armor version, it's sculpted hair. I've said that I want to see at least one Wonder Woman with sculpted hair, and finally they've done it, and they've delivered the goods. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Wonder Woman's head sculpt. Now, based on the early blogger pics, a lot of people were very nervous, including me. This head sculpt just straight up didn't look very good. But in hand, in person, under neutral lighting, oh, it is good. It looks just like her. The skin texture, the paint applications, the likeness to Gal Gadot, all gets ticks from me. Plus, that expression with the furrowed brows slightly looking up, fierce as hell, and in the correct pose, this figure is going to look incredible. Now, another worry was, oh no, the hair, it looks like pasta, it's sculpted plastic. I totally understand multiple curvy, wavy layers has a bit of a ramen look, but again, in person, it's a non-issue. You've got multiple layers. There are thin strands, there are thicker strands, the sculpt work, the paint applications, the natural flow. I love sculpted hair, and this might just be one of Hot Toys' best sculpted long hair head sculpts ever. The skin tone and texture match between the head sculpt and the body is also on point. Now, does that mean that because this is a big sculpted hunk of plastic that looks good, will it have limited articulation? Well, we'll have to discuss that in the articulation segment. As for removing the tiara, because yes, it is possible, but unfortunately not all that easy to do. When you do remove it though, I don't know about y'all, but that likeness now looks even better. I see Gal Gadot from every angle. And now you can see the furrow in her brow, the expression is intensified. Do let me know though, so far are you liking the head sculpt? Yes, we will do comparisons to determine which Gal Gadot head sculpt is truly the best. The one thing that's missing to make this head sculpt perfect in my opinion, moving eyes. That would have truly made this head sculpt next level. Also, something I haven't mentioned yet, because I didn't notice it until now, there is a little bit of blush on her cheeks to add a touch of colour. Why are we back here? Because there's not much to see. Well, we're here to discuss the hair. Now you can see a whole lot more of it. That natural wave I discussed earlier is very present, and the little spikies down below, they're a very soft rubbery plastic. Also, there is a bit of a gap between the hair and the body, which definitely is a good thing, because if you are posing the head sculpt, the last thing you want is this sculpted plastic rubbing against the silicone body. Because, as we all know, friction against silicone with a paint application on the top, a nightmare. So now that there is that gap, fingers crossed, no peeling on the silicone body over time. But just like all these wear and tear related issues only time will tell, we will have to wait and see, because this is an all new body. They've never used silicone before. With the previous Wonder Woman figures, it was a mix of plastic and rubber. Kind of like what Mattel do for Barbies, but way more high-end. This time, they have gone with silicone, which does have a few benefits and one downside. Now, the skin texture is really good, and it looks like it's baked into the material, not just a painted layer on the surface. Could be wrong, but that's how it looks in person. The musculature and the definition for the collarbone and the arms, very good. Plus, when you bend the arms, that creasing looks natural as hell. That looks like real human skin. But the downside, unfortunately, there is a seam line on both sides all the way down the arms. Now, it's not a huge deal for me, but yes, it is there, and under certain lighting conditions, it is visible. It may sound like I'm making excuses for Hot Toys, just a new Hot Toys shill saying you don't care about the seam line, but genuinely, I don't. I'm not making excuses. I've pointed out the darn thing. If it bothers you, if it's a deal breaker, well, now you know. On one side, she's got this little bicep guard, decently sculpted, and I dig the chrome gold. Then for her upper torso armor, my goodness, this is stunning. The sculpt work is very sharp. I dig the little taper in at the waist. You've got a bunch of little lines and scratches, and the finish is glorious. You've got this metallic red with gold on the high spots where it would naturally rub away over time, plus washes in the crevices as well, and yes, it's all the way around. One of the biggest changes about the armor though this time is there's no strapping over the top, so you get to see it all. And that means they needed a different way of attaching the lasso to her belt or to her person. And instead of going with magnets or velcros or something clever, they've gone with a teeny tiny little peg that feels very fragile. So when you do remove this and plug it in, be very careful. It does kind of feel like it's made out of metal, but as you poke that through the hole multiple times, you could potentially stretch that hole and it will no longer be all that functional. When you do have the lasso hanging on her belt though, it lays pretty naturally. I bet you thought I forgot about the gauntlets, but no, of course not. We need to discuss them. They've got a party piece. I like the sculpt work and the metallic paint applications with the washers in the crevices. Plus, this time, they're an all-new sculpt. How do I know that? Well, they sit way looser on the body. So that means when you pop the hand on and you bend the elbow, no longer will they push the hand off and it will go flying. Now they can slide down a little bit further, so there's a gap between them. Thank you, Hot Toys. This quality of life improvement, much appreciated. As for the party piece, well, there's a magnet inside, so if you bring in the bullet ricochet effects, you can pop them on. And yes, the same thing goes for both sides. Coming down to the legs and, of course, the skirt up top. It is still made up of multiple panels just like previous Wonder Woman figures, but this time it's a lot softer, which means it drapes naturally and it should be great for posing. I adore this green print on the surface and the metallic blue. It straight up looks ethereal. I'm going to use an adjective I had saved in the bank for later. It looks wonderful. I am so sorry I had to. You get it? Wonderful Wonder Woman. Moving on. Her legs are seamless from the skirt section down. What do I mean by that? Well, they're pegged in on ball joints separately to the upper torso, so you can move them forward, you can move them out, or swivel them and not have to worry about stressing a seamless body. So, no, it's not seamless from head to toe. There's some cheating underneath the skirt. The skin texture for the legs, good. The musculature, though, is just okay. You can see a little bit, but I was expecting way more. In Wonder Woman 84, Gal Gadot, she was toned as hell. She was very muscular. whereas in 1/6 scale, they're just very smooth. Now, that's not to say they look like shapeless sausages, they absolutely don't. They still look like legs. Her knee pads are actually attached to this top part of her boot guard, so when you bend them, they bend at the same time. There is a ton of sculpt work down here for the boot, and the paint applications do match the armor on her upper torso. There are washes in the scratches, and it's an asymmetrical design. They didn't just take the sculpt for this side, flip it, and use it on the other side. The scratches are different from one side to the other. You can also see a little bit of skin poking through the two pieces of armor, where in real life they would be strapped together, but in 1/6 scale, it's all sculpted. Now, unfortunately, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. That ankle peg is so ugly. I was hoping they'd do something different, but this is the same style ankle peg for Wonder Woman they've been using from the very beginning with BVS. On the underside of the shoes, no soles, they're completely smooth. Head swap time, the moment I'm sure a lot of y'all have been waiting for. New head sculpt, old body, old head sculpt, new body, we're gonna try it all. So, to kick things off, with the Golden Armor head sculpt. Now, I have taken the tiara off the new head sculpt and popped it on here, and yes, it sits in position, although not super securely, because with the new one it tucks under the sculpted hair, whereas with this one it sits in place via friction alone. Now, is it just me, or does this look really good? Now, I know her neck does look a little bit long, but in the correct pose, I reckon it's going to be a non-issue. Plus, if you bring the hair around and futz with it, you can hide that neck just a little bit more. Then again, with the Justice League head sculpt, you don't really have to. The neck appears a little bit shorter. But unfortunately, the skin tone match isn't perfect. The Justice League head sculpt is a touch darker. Plus, a lot of people don't necessarily love this head sculpt. For BVS, it's a no from me. I know a lot of people love this head sculpt, but I don't. I've never seen the appeal. In fact, it's my least favourite of the bunch. The skin tone is even darker, so the mismatch is exacerbated even further. Plus, her tiara is silver rather than gold, so instead of blending in with the armor, it clashes against it. So far, my favourite head swap has been the Golden Armor head sculpt on the new body with the new tiara. Now, this is interesting. The comic concept body with the new head sculpt, and it totally works here. In fact, it looks so good that I reckon for some people, this is going to be the ultimate Wonder Woman. Now, her hair is a little bit lighter than the head sculpt that comes with the body, but I don't know. I can still totally see this as an option. Unfortunately, as good as this does look, it's not actually connected to the neck connector. The neck peg isn't long enough, plus her sculpted hair is constantly pushing against the body. If only you could peg it on, cause yeah, I really like the way this looks. There's something about that sculpted hair head sculpt, as soon as you put it on one of the old Wonder Woman bodies, instant upgrade. And as soon as you put one of these rooted hair head sculpts on the new body, instant downgrade. Now, you don't have to agree with me, just my opinion. I like the darker hair colour, and I dig the really bright silver for the tiara. It ties the brighter colour scheme together quite well, but like I said, the sculpted hair head sculpt, just my preference. The same goes for this BVS body new head sculpt. Oh, this is awesome. Now, we are having the opposite issue with the skin tone, where the body is a little bit darker and more saturated compared to the head sculpt, but I could totally get around that. I am so tempted to pick up multiple of these head sculpts to upgrade pretty much all of my Wonder Woman figures. And I reckon this solidifies it. That's exactly what I'm going to do. It's going to take time, and it's going to take patience to try and find these head sculpts, but absolutely worth doing because it is a massive upgrade. In terms of likeness, the way the hair falls on the body, no frizziness, no poofiness, this looks so much better. Plus, the skin tone match between the Justice League body and this head sculpt is a lot closer. Say, for instance, you don't like the super vibrant armor of Wonder Woman 84? Yeah, this is totally a doable combo. Very quickly, if you are a customizer or kit basher, or you're straight up curious, yes, the Justice League and BVS harnesses, they're compatible with the new body. Pop the head sculpt off, slide on the harness, do up the Velcro, job done. They do kind of conform to the shape of the armor, because the shape is relatively similar. Although, there is one issue. Down below, we've got a strap the lasso, and on the belt, another strap for the lasso. So you have some duplication down below. If you are worried that the hair will cause some issues with the strap, don't. In fact, it actually helps you. It clamps it down and holds that strap in the correct position. For a quick side-by-side comparison, on the left classic armor, on the right golden armor, both from Wonder Woman 84. They're pretty much the same height and the proportions across both bodies are very good. I will note though that golden armor's neck looks a little bit short. It's not actually short, it's just the high collar on the armor that's giving us that illusion. Plus, we do have rooted hair on the right and a traditional jointed body underneath the outfit, versus sculpted hair and a seamless body on the left. It quite literally is going to come down to personal preference. If you like the straight up classic iconic look for Wonder Woman, go for the one on the left. If you love the Kingdom Come look and the pop and chrome gold, go for the armored one. For me, I like them both. They both have a spot in my collection. Such a cop-out answer, I'm aware, but it's one I can live with. On the right, Justice League Wonder Woman, who is shorter than the new gal. Yes, pun intended. Now, her body is a little bit darker in tone. She's got the harness on and her armor is way less metallic, plus it's a completely different sculpt. I thought that the new one would reuse the sculpt, but they didn't. They went brand new. Now, unfortunately, with the transition to a silicone body over the thermoplastic rubber of Justice League and BVS and training armor, we have lost a little bit of detail. That's why with Justice League, her collarbone and the neck detail is way more pronounced. Would I have liked to have seen all that detail in the new one? Yes, absolutely, of course. But if it was going to come at the cost of flexibility and durability, I'm glad they went with silicone. Now, this is a surprise. BVS Wonder Woman, she's the taller of the two. I totally wasn't expecting that. Some would even say she's a hair taller because of the rooted hair. I know, I'm terrible. The skin tone is darker, there's more detail and definition in the neck and collarbone area, just like Justice League. She's got the harness on and her armor is darker in tone, compared to 84, which is much more vibrant and, in my opinion, stands out more. Then again, maybe you do genuinely prefer that darker, grittier, more realistic tone of the Snyderverse, and that's perfectly fine. We have so many options now. We've got BVS, we've got Justice League with the cloak, we've got this new one, and even training armor Wonder Woman from the first movie. She is a little bit shorter than the 84 figure, but I reckon that mostly comes from the hair, not necessarily the body. 84 is big and boofy and full of volume, perfect for the 80s, whereas training armor is tied back in a neat ponytail. The skin tone is a little bit darker on training armor, just like the other two we've already compared the new one to, and her body is way more detailed. I mean, look at the neck area and check out those knees, they look so freaking real. So even though, once again, I do prefer the material of the new body, I still like the detail of the originals. How could I not? I had to throw in a cheeky Trinity shot. On the left, Justice League Batman. On the right, the brighter, more colourful, Whedon-cut Superman. Then, in the middle, Wonder Woman 84. And I'm pleased to report she's no slouch in terms of height. Sometimes Hot Toys underscale their female figures, but not this time. I reckon the height difference between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman is spot on. And I would have no problem whatsoever putting a display together with these three in the center. For the final comparison, I bet you thought I was gonna leave you hanging, but I wouldn't do that to you. It's the comic concept figure. She's a little bit shorter, her hair is rooted once again, but it's black rather than brown. Her skin tone is also a little bit darker, just like BVS and Justice League. Now, I've been ranting and comic book looking the new figure is, but compared to the comic concept version, it's straight up Zack Snyder's Justice League. The comic version is super bright, super colourful, and I don't know what to tell you, it's drawing my eye. It doesn't get anywhere near enough love. It's a really sick figure. For a much closer up zoomed in comparison, on the left, Wonder Woman 84, but you all knew that because of the sculpted hair, and on the right, the original BVS Wonder Woman. A lot of people say that Hot Toys got it right with the original, and they went downhill from there. The BVS is the best one ever. But I don't agree. I think the new one is far superior. The likeness, the skin texture, the expression, no longer do we have that open mouth, and even the sculpted hair, it helps the likeness tremendously. And the skin tone is lighter on the new one. The original was, I think, a touch too tan. This one is a lot harder to call. I love the new one, but training armor Wonder Woman with the tied back hair, that expression, the likeness, it is so difficult to say which one is better, so I'm gonna leave it up to you. Which one do you prefer? This one is so controversial. A lot of people really like the golden armor Wonder Woman head sculpt, me included. But just as many people really don't like it, and I understand why. It's divisive. Now, I still think that the new one is better. Even though the golden armor suit is good, the likeness is strong, the new one with the dialed up skin texture and that expression takes the win for me. Widely regarded as the worst attempt at a Gal Gadot likeness, it's Justice League. Now, I personally wouldn't go that far. I think it's still better than BVS, but that hair is a nightmare. It's big, it's poofy, it's frizzy, it's hard to work with, and that's why for the longest time I said I wanted sculpted hair. It's perfect right out of the box every single time. And yes, the new one is clearly better. Going over articulation, do bear in mind this is my personal copy, and she's on a silicone body, so I'm going to be very careful. When you get yours in hand, I suggest you do the same. Starting off with her head sculpt, we know where this is going, sculpted long hair and a seamless neck. It's going to be more limited. Looking forward to there, looking up to there, swivel and pivot side to side. Her arms will go up, and I like that there's a gap in the hair at the shoulder, so no scratching on the silicone skin. Going forward and back, butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow, yes, signature pose, it's possible, plus a regular 1/6 scale hinge and swivel wrist peg. Now there is technically a joint under the armor for the torso, but it's sculpted plastic, you're not going to get any movement there at all. The legs will go forward, be careful of this spike and the silicone skin, they'll also go back, plus out to there. Swivel up underneath the skirt. We do have a ratcheted bend at the knee, but that strap has me so worried. It's eating into the silicone skin, so don't push it too far. Then down here for the ankle, basically a massive wrist peg. Forward and back swivel, and if you rotate it, pivot side to side. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is the ankle joint. Unfortunately, we didn't get a double ball peg. I was really hoping we were going to. They could have extended the silicone down over it, because you wouldn't have had to move the joint around for maximum range of motion. Plus, you could have had forward and back and pivot at the same time. Whereas with the giant wrist peg scenario, you can't. You can get forward and back and pivot, but you do have to pick one or the other. To access the pivot, you have to manually rotate the joint, and then it can go from side to side. The second annoying thing is the lasso of truth. It becomes unspooled constantly. When you're posing her, you bump the lasso, it'll unravel. It's a nightmare to work with. How could they have solved this? Well, pretty easily. They could have included a teeny tiny bit of gold wire to clamp it together, or just given us 2 of them, one that's actual string meant to be posed with, and the other that's pre-sculpted to lay on her side. The third annoying thing is, really Hot Toys? A waist clamp? That's genuinely the best you could do. You expect me to put this metal and hard plastic clamp around the chrome armor? Well, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. So it ain't gonna happen. The first cool thing is, not only do I think this is the best attempt at a Gal Gadot likeness by Hot Toys so far, but you can remove the tiara for the first time ever. I wish it was easier to do without having to worry about scuffing up the paint applications on her forehead, but if you want to take it off, you totally can. The second cool thing, the new silicone skin. Now the old Wonder Woman figures, they looked good, but they never moved as well or looked as detailed as this one does. The skin texture, super HD, it's a lot easier to pose and it feels more durable. Plus, when you do bend the joints, it wrinkles in a very natural way that actually looks like skin. The third cool thing is how vibrant everything is. The chrome red and gold, the metallic blue for the skirt, even the lasso of truth, everything here absolutely pops. For a bonus cool thing, not the head sculpt she comes with, I know, but I've switched it to highlight what I'm trying to show you. Now, normally she'd have the sculpted strands down the front and down her back, so you'd never get to use this joint. But if you switch the head sculpt, you have a lower neck joint for an insane range of motion. Which is kinda crazy because they knew full well you'd never get to use that joint anyway. But they didn't care, they still included it. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Wonder Woman in her classic armor from Wonder Woman 1984. A film that a lot of people really didn't like. In fact, it was pretty much panned universally. But I'm gonna say it, I enjoyed the movie. A lot of people say, Justin, you have terrible taste in films, and I kinda do, but I like good films as well. It's just that I had a bunch of fun here. It was a brighter tone, I dig the colors, I dig the 80s setting, and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, she kicks some serious butt. But even I'll admit, the film wasn't perfect. Just like this figure, see, I made it relevant somehow. Now, the silicone body looks awesome, it's great for posing, and it feels more durable than the previous versions. However, we are lacking a little bit of detail compared to Justice League and BVS. Plus training armor, that body was incredible. Now, I'm still happy with the silicone transition, but fingers crossed, going forward they can squeeze out a little bit more detail for the musculature. Also, even though the armor is popping and gleaming on camera, it is missing the harness and you don't get the sword and shield. So if you are planning on using this Wonder Woman as your only Wonder Woman in your first movie display, or your Justice League display, or your BVS display, technically it's not accurate, plus the armor is a lot brighter anyway. So it can either be a standalone piece, or God forbid, a Wonder Woman 84 display, but that's what I'm planning to do. Now, the head sculpt. One thing that could have totally derailed this entire figure. But I'm pleased to report that I like it. I genuinely think this is the best Gal Gadot likeness that Hot Toys have ever achieved. This head sculpt checks a ton of boxes. Then the sculpted hair might not be for everyone, but I like it. It falls perfectly, it's got a natural flow to it, and it sits exactly how it should on the body. A key part of capturing someone's likeness is the hairstyle. So if you leave that key part up to a collector like me to sit down with my ham hands and try and futz around with the hair to get it to look good, it's probably not going to look that good 9 times out of 10. Plus it gets frizzy, especially in humid climates, whereas sculpted hair, it has none of those issues. But if you do want one of the rooted hair head sculpts, you've already seen how they look like on this body, they fit, they're compatible, totally works. With all of that being said, circling back to the question I posed at the start of the video, is she the ultimate, the best, the definitive Wonder Woman figure in 1/6 scale by Hot Toys? I think she is, and by a pretty big margin too. Now I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.